Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the title, today we're going to be talking about how you can pass your real estate exam without failing a million times and paying $1 billion to take it. It's not really that expensive, but seriously, let's save you some money. Let's get into it. I was so elated when I passed both my state and national exam on the first try. I was so happy, so relieved. Oh my gosh, done with it. Now I can move on. The courses I took were 3 30-hour courses, and I actually took my exams after the first course, so I still had 2 courses full, 60 hours worth of information I didn't know, and I still passed. So I think I might have some tips for you. The first tip I would suggest is to take as many practice tests as possible. There are a plethora of free options online that allow you to get an idea of what questions you can expect. Some states have one test that combines both the state and national portion, and other states like mine, Minnesota, has 2 separate exams where you have a state one and a national one. These are administered by one of 2 entities, either Pearson VUE or PSI. Both of those entities actually offer practice exams that are a lot like the real thing, except they're not free. I paid just around $20 for mine, and the final results, once you finish the test, it shows you what you need to focus on and be studying, where you fell short, and that helped a lot. So I would highly suggest that. It is only a one-time test. You pay $20, you can only take it once, but it could save you a lot of money down the road from having to take the other ones. When it comes to what you should study, I think there are 3 main things you should focus on, and that is math, contracts, and vocab. When it comes to vocabulary, I really want to ingrain this in your brain. It's not about memorizing what joint tenancy means. It's not just knowing the definition. It's about knowing what it looks like in a real life scenario, because the test isn't gonna give you, which one of these describes joint tenancy. It'll say, John and Jane live in a house together and have the right to survivorship. What type of tenancy is this? It's joint tenancy, by the way. So that's really important, to actually know what the word or phrase means and how it applies to a real life scenario versus just memorizing the definition. Math isn't a huge part of the exam, and I believe some states like California, it's not on the exam at all, but it's worth knowing some of the easier things, such as how to do a commission split or splitting up acres, things like that. There are so many free YouTube videos that break it down for you. I'm terrible at math, and while I didn't absorb a lot of the more intricate math problems, I got the basics down, and that was clearly enough. Another thing I would suggest is to listen to podcasts and seminars when you'd normally be listening to other things. For me, I found myself at the gym listening to podcasts, and while I was driving, instead of listening to the radio or Spotify, I'd throw on a vocab seminar and kind of talk out loud when they'd be like, what does this mean? And they give you real life examples. When it comes to studying, don't overdo it. If you're sitting there for 8 to 10 hours a day, your brain's not really processing all the information you're taking in, and you're just overwhelming yourself. Cramming isn't beneficial, as far as I know. What I would suggest is to study no more than 4 hours a day, really, and I kind of think that's pushing it. At first I was studying 6 to 8 hours a day, and then I took it back to, I think, 3 hours at most I was doing, and I found it so much more beneficial, because you'd spend less time, but you're focusing on the things that you need to be focusing on. Before we get to the night before the exam, I want to suggest getting your study material from different places. Don't just rely on your courses. Rely on different YouTube videos, different Facebook groups, podcasts, websites, blogs, all of these things, because I think if you get your information from one place, it lessens the chance of you really understanding the content. And so I can't tell you how many places I consumed information from, but I really highly suggest that. And on that note, I'm no way affiliated with them, but Real Estate Exam Prep was a godsend to me, and I'm an atheist. They have YouTube videos for everything you could think of: vocab, contracts, appraisals, types of tenancy, the law behind it all. It was amazing, and they have a killer Facebook group that is super, super, super helpful. And they love to congratulate people when they pass the exam, no matter if it's your first time taking it or your 20th, which I've seen both. Another thing I want to mention is using flashcards, whether they're physical flashcards. I had physical ones for my state-related stuff, and I actually ended up making a Quizlet profile for the Minnesota state question. So if you want to take a look at that, that'd be awesome. Just type in Minnesota real estate exam, you'll find the questions. And speaking of, I would highly suggest using Quizlet. It's fantastic. There's online flashcards. You can test yourself. You can memorize them. It's really, really, really beneficial, and it's all free. Okay, so like I said, I don't believe cramming really works. So the night before the exam, I believe I just did like a general overview and focused on a couple things I really thought I didn't quite understand, and it was TILA and RESPA. I wasn't getting those because my coursework didn't really cover them that much. So I watched a couple videos on those until I felt like I could describe it to somebody. And then I spent the rest of the night relaxing. Have a shower the night before, a warm, cozy shower. Self-care is super important, believe it or not, for exams. Get a really good night's rest. I highly encourage having a very filling breakfast the day of the exam, depending on what time your exam is, of course, because it could take you 4 hours or more, I think it depends on the state, to finish both exams or one main exam. That's a long time. You want to be fueled with good brain food, so maybe consider like oatmeal with some blueberries. I know blueberries are really good for your noggin, and it's filling, so that's just something to keep in mind. Now, as you're heading to your exam, you'll get different advice on this. Some people just say listen to nothing. Some say listen to your favorite music. I listened to a vocab seminar or two because my test was like an hour away. But it just made me feel confident because I knew all the answers. So I highly suggest doing that. As you get to your exam, it could vary from state to state, but you can't have anything on you but a little calculator. You can't have water, your phone. I had to take off my smartwatch. They patted me down. They looked at my tattoos in between my fingers, my shoes, empty your pockets. It's pretty like invasive, for lack of a better word, but they're just making sure you're not going to cheat, that you don't have anything on you. And then essentially you are being audio recorded, you are being watched on a camera, you are being watched by a person when you take the exam. They're not hovering over your shoulder, but you know, they're observing just again to make sure you're not cheating in any way. From what I know, all of the exams are done electronically on the computer. I was allowed to use the calculator I brought. If not, they did have one provided. And then there was a dry erase board where I could take notes or work out math problems or do anything like that. I highly suggest taking a big deep breath as soon as you sit down and get started. If you come across any questions that you find are hard, skip them. Don't spend too much time on them. Come back at the end. Another thing I suggest if you have the time is to go through the test 2 or 3 times, just to make sure you answered every question, that you still agree with the answers you put down, but try not to second guess yourself too much. All right, those are my suggestions for passing the real estate exam on your first try. Just know if you don't pass on your first try, that's okay. Study a little bit more, try again. But that's it, guys. I hope you liked that. I will have another video coming at you soon. Good luck, and take a breath. Take care of yourself in the process. Don't overdo it. You've got it. All right, bye guys.